everyone, this is Kelsey Jones, Executive Editor at Search Engine Journal. I'm joined here today with Erin Robbins O'Brien. She's the president at Ginzametrics. Erin,
Hey.
Thanks for coming.
Thanks for having me.
So I know you're speaking on a couple topics here at Pubcon. One thing that I wanted to talk to you about was creating custom content on a budget. I know that a lot of smaller brands have trouble with that. So what are some first steps when you're budget minded to kind of create a strategy?
So I think that one of the things that's interesting is that it's not even just small brands. Like, that's the people who very obviously struggle with creating content on a budget, but I think everybody should be budget conscious when creating content. Like, why should somebody just waste money because they have it? But when you talk about thinking of a strategy, one of the things I like to do is figure out what is the thing that I can do that'll get the most relevant and useful information to people the quickest, and how can I do that in a way that will give me a lot of different things that work well for my audience. So I usually start out with some research. Where is my audience? Kind of what are they looking at, and how can I figure out what topics and trends they're paying attention to or where they need information? And usually that leads into, okay, what type of content should I create?
When you are doing that research, do you use any specific tools?
Since I'm the president of Ginza, I use Ginza, but just to kind of check in and see, from a keyword standpoint, we use keyword discovery to figure out what's going on. I also use competitor discovery to see who is new in this space and talking about certain things. And then what I do is we mix up, just like we kind of mix and match, like who's new in the space or talking about certain things in your area. And then with that, what specific overlap in keywords and content do they have? So a lot of times I'll look there, and then I actually usually regularly kind of scroll through forums to see where trending topics are, and then I try to cover something from that.
Yeah, I like that. So one thing I think that's an easy leap, especially when you're on your budget, is creating a central piece of content and then building other pieces around that. And that was something you and I had talked about before the interview. Do you want to kind of talk about what you guys do at Ginzametrics?
Yeah, so because we're a really small team and we don't actually spend money on sales and marketing, we prefer inbound. So what we do is to create content that's relevant. I actually do a video series every week called Found Friday, and what that does is it's a 15 to 20 minute show that we do live, and then so folks will join the live show, people will watch the video later, and then that also becomes a podcast on iTunes and several other places, and then from there we create blog posts, slide shares, sometimes an ebook if we do a series, all kinds of different things, so that what we have from that one 15 to 20 minute segment of my time is a lot of various resources, and sometimes if we have guests, it'll become a case study or a white paper, or like a ton of different things, because at the end of the day what you want is somebody who's passionate, a thought leader, and really involved in the topic to be creating this content. But a lot of times those people don't have time, especially in a smaller organization, to just sit there and think up content and create it. So it's a way for me to do 15 or 20 minutes of work and get enough content to last for at least a week.
Yeah, I like that. That's a great idea. Yeah. Another thing that might be helpful is user-generated content. So at SCJ, we do a weekly poll on Twitter with industry questions, and we're thinking about rolling the answers for the last 6 months into a white paper. Have you had good experiences with user-generated content and using that?
So one of the things that's actually something that we're trying to work toward. Sometimes getting people in the enterprise SEO space to share a lot of information can be a little bit like pulling teeth, but we get a lot of feedback via email and via kind of more direct sources, so it's harder sometimes because we're not a publication to get folks to tell us their opinions necessarily in kind of a more public forum. But we're working on more kind of conference-based, more webinar-based things where people can follow up afterwards, and then aggregating that information is really helpful, because it's always interesting to compare how people's feelings about things or what they're doing over time, because we found really big shifts. I mean, I've been doing this at Ginza for a little over 4 years, and the entire way that people have approached SEO in a lot of instances has completely changed.
Yeah, that makes sense. I know at webinars it's always useful, because when I do them, people ask questions that I would have never thought of, and that's a really cool way to get content ideas too. Just if somebody's asking the question, then that could be a good blog post, another webinar, whatever.
I follow my competitors' Twitter accounts, and then when I hear somebody complaining to them about something, I try to create content that basically goes against whatever it is that somebody was upset about from that, because that's usually the easiest way to get people to be like, oh, that's exactly the thing that I was frustrated about last week.
That makes sense too. Solving problems and making sure that people are finding what they're looking for and they're finding it on your site.
Yeah.
That's a good strategy.
Yeah.
All right. Well, do you have any other parting advice as we close up the interview?
If you want to create kind of custom content on a budget, I would say start out with figuring out what kind of content you need to create and then also where it needs to go. So I know that people that are looking at the specific stuff that I do with enterprise search are on SlideShare and are on reading blogs and are checking out kind of interesting visuals and things like that. So, and the videos are really good and the podcast is nice. So I try to create content that matches the format of where my audience is. So I would say start with that research so that you, at least once you start putting your resources into creating something, are going in the right direction.
Yeah, don't repurpose stuff just because you can. Make sure that your audience is there.
Yeah, definitely.
All right. Well, thank you so much for
Thanks for having me.
Again, this is Erin and Kelsey at Pubcon.
Hi, my name is Brent Satoris. I'm here with Search Engine Journal. I'm joined today by Gary Yesh, Chief of Sunshine and Happiness at Google.
That's correct.
Welcome. Thank you for joining us this morning.
Thank you for having me.
There's been a lot of discussion, I don't know, a lot of discussion, but there's been some decent discussion recent about Penguin.
I never heard about Penguins.
No. They've been running around here chasing you, so. Becoming more of a part of the everyday algorithm, the live algorithm.
Yeah.
And
Today's summit is the 3 takeaways
Yes.
structure.
Yes.
I'm leaving with way more.
I also like the single session format for conferences.
I agreed to be a speaker here because I think above all else, the quality of people who attend the meeting, there's something to be said about the fact that you can't just, hey, come. It's by invitation only.
What I really liked about the speakers is that it's been very well-rounded.